everyone, I hope you can all see the screen. So let's start the quiz. Here you can see the join code or the link. You can even use either of the above and go to quizzes. Here you can just write down the join code, go to the quizzes website. On to the top right corner you can see enter code, click on that and you can paste the code here, click join, enter any name that you like, that's fine, and click start. So let's start the quiz right away. So here you could see the pin on the right corner. You can always type that and join into the quiz midway. So the first question we have is, when do the UCP rules apply to a documentary credit? 4 options given. Select the correct option. There is 30 seconds given for each question. So your time is over now. The 4 options, let's read out the 4 options. First one says applies to all credit irrespective of whether expressly stated or not that it is subject to UCP. The second answer says applies to only credit which expressly indicates that it is subject to UCP. Third says that it only applies to domestic credit. Fourth one says it only applies to foreign credit. So the correct answer is, according to Article 1 of UCP 600, we know that UCP rules apply to documentary credit, any documentary credit, as long as it expressly states, look here, yes, this credit is subject to UCP. So the correct answer here is answer B. Let's move to the next one. Who are the UCP rules binding on in relation to a documentary credit? Again, 30 seconds for you all to answer. So let's go through the options now since the time is out. First answer says that the issuing bank only. So it says UCP 600 rules only apply to the issuing bank as per the first answer. Second answer says, look here, it applies to issuing bank as well as beneficiary, nobody else. Third one says it applies to all parties involved in the credit unless it expressly modifies it or excludes them from the credit. Fourth answer says, look here, it applies to issuing, confirming bank as well as the beneficiary. The correct answer here, according to again Article 1 of UCP 600, is that UCP rules apply to everyone who is involved in the credit unless the credit expressly states that that person or entity is excluded from UCP 600. So it applies to all. If you need somebody to be excluded, you have to expressly state that. So here the correct answer is answer C. Next question. According to the given information, which of the following statements is true about a credit transaction? So what's the correct statement relating to a documentary credit? Again, 30 seconds running out pretty fast. Okay, since the time is out, let's go through the answers. First answer says the issuing bank is bound by the underlying credit. Second one says all banks involved in the credit are concerned with the underlying contract of the transaction. Third one, or C, says the beneficiary can rely on contractual relationship between the banks. final, or D says the credit is separate from the underlying contract. Here we refer to article number 4. Article number 4 says, look here, the underlying contract and the documentary credit itself are two different aspects. They are separate from each other. The bank need not to be involved with that underlying credit, or the beneficiary is not allowed to rely on the contractual relationship between the banks. So out of the 4 options given, the only statement that is correct is answer D. It says the credit is separate from the underlying contract. Let's move to the next question. What should an issuing bank do regarding the inclusion of documents in a credit? You have 30 seconds to answer this. If you are midway of the streaming and you want to join the quiz, you could see the code here on the top right corner. Go to the quizzes website and under enter the code, you can simply write these numbers and join for the quiz. So now the timer is out. Let's go through the question number 4. They're asking, what should an issuing bank do regarding including documents in a credit? They have given 4 options. Let's go through them. Encourage the applicant to include copies of the underlying credit. B says discourage the applicant from including copies of the underlying credit. C says allow the applicant to include performer invoice as an integral part of the credit. Final one says require the applicant to provide the original contract along with the credit. Now here again, we know according to article number 4, the contract and the documentary credit is separate from each other. They are two different aspects, and the banks as per article 5 only deal with documents, not relating to goods, services or performance. So in that context, banks should always discourage the applicant from including any document that gives reference to this underlying credit. So the first, encourage the applicant to include copies of the underlying credit. No, that's wrong. You need to discourage it as a issuing bank. What about the last option? Require the applicant to provide original contract? No. That's also reference to the underlying contract. So no, we need to discourage that from being included in the credit. What about the third one? We need an invoice to be submitted when you're presenting for a compliant presentation under a credit. So why are we saying, or why will C be an incorrect answer? Here the word they use is pro forma invoice. If it's the pro forma invoice, we always discourage the applicant or the beneficiary from including that in the documentary list. It's the commercial invoice that we will accept as a complying document under the credit. So here the correct answer is B. Discourage the applicant from including copies of the underlying contract. Next question. UCP 600 applies to which of the following? Fairly easy question. You have 30 seconds to answer. So timer is out. Let's go through the answers. We know for guarantees UCP 600 doesn't apply. No, that's not the regulation for guarantees. For guarantees they have URDG 758. So answer B and D are incorrect. So our choice is between A and C. Yes, UCP 600 applies to documentary credit, but does it apply to standby credits as well? Yes, Article 1 explicitly states that, look here, UCP 600 applies to both documentary credits as well as standby credits. Another regulation that is exclusively there for standby credits is ISP 98. So here the correct answer is C. Next question. According to UCP 600 Article 3, how long does the expression on or about allow an event to occur? So time is over. Let's go through the answers. The question asks you, how long does the expression on or about allow an event to occur? We know as per Article 3, on or about gives us 5 calendar days before the specified event date and 5 calendar days after the specified event date. So here the correct answer is answer C. Question 7. How should the words prompt, immediately or as soon as possible be treated unless required in a document? Let's discuss the answers. We know as per Article 3, it explicitly says that when the words prompt, immediately or as soon as possible are used in the document, unless it's mandatorily required, the bank or the persons including the words should always tries to not use these words, or if in case the bank is referring to these words, they could disregard these words. So out of the 4 options given, the correct answer is answer C, which says that these words, unless it's required to be in the document, always the bank would disregard such terms. So here answer is C. Question 8. According to Article 4 of UCP 600, which party is not able to benefit from the contractual relationship between banks or between the applicant and the issuing bank? Okay, let's discuss the answers. So the party who is not allowed or not able to benefit from the contractual relationship between banks or even between the applicant and the issuing bank is definitely the beneficiary. The beneficiary cannot exploit the relationship that exists between the banks or that exists between applicant and the issuing bank for their benefit. So here the correct answer is B. Last 2 questions. Question number 9. According to the interpretations provided, which of the following is true? Now read carefully. They are talking about dates. So take your time, even the timer is over. Still spend some time, think about the 4 answers and pick the correct answer. Okay, so let's discuss the answers. The 4 options. The first option says the words first half and second half of a month are inclusive of the last day of the month. Yes, that's correct. First half is from the 1st to the 15th, all dates included. Second half is from the 16th to the last day of the month, inclusive of all the dates. B, or the second option, the word beginning, middle and end of a month exclude the 10th, 20th and the last day of the month. No, that's incorrect. The words beginning, middle and end include all the dates. Beginning says from the 1st to the 10th, middle says from the 11th to the 20th, end is from the 21st to the last day of the month. Again, all the dates from the beginning to the end is included. So here answer B is incorrect. Answer C. The words from and after when used to determine a maturity date include the date mentioned. We know that's incorrect. Why? From and after when they are used to determine a maturity date always exclude the date that is mentioned. Final option, the words to, until, till, from and between when used to determine a period of shipment exclude the date mentioned. No, these words to, until, till, from and between, if these are used to determine the period of shipment, it includes the date that is mentioned on the credit. So here the correct answer is A. Final question. As per Article 2 of UCP 600, complying presentation means a presentation that is in accordance with which of the following? It's fairly an easy question if you had gone through Article 2, especially the definition for complying presentation. You should know the answer for this. Okay, the timer is out. Let's go through the answers. First one says terms and conditions of the contract. Yes, for a presentation to be complying, we will compare that presentation with the credit, with the terms and conditions of the credit. So your presentation has to be in accordance with that. So A is correct. Second one says applicable provisions of UCP 600. So whenever the credit is expressly stated to be subject to UCP 600, then the presentation that you make has also to be accordance with the UCP 600 rule. So B is also correct. Finally, the presentation that you make should also be in accordance with the International Standard Banking Practice, ISBP. So here the correct answer is all of the above, or option D, the very last option. So I hope this quiz was fruitful to you. We'll join again with a similar quiz during the week. I'll make an announcement to you about how it worked, how it's going to work with the post. So stay tuned.